Okay, let's go ahead and jump right into this thing. So what we're going to do is create a new directory because we haven't done so since the very first video, and I think it's important for us to do that. And within this new directory, we're going to learn or go through the process of learning how to build a Shiny. What's a Shiny? A Shiny, more specifically a Shiny app, allows you to interact with data online. If you have the capacity, you can actually put your application in or on the web, and so it's kind of cool to do this. So let's go ahead and go through the process. Go to Positron, okay, and with this Positron you're going to create a new project. Okay, you're going to have it be empty. Our project is for special things in Python and Jupyter. It's not part of this class. Go to empty, go to next. You're going to call this stat cal 331 summer. Okay, or let's just say stat 331 Shiny apps. Okay, and I'm actually gonna put this on my desktop. Okay, see, open. Sorry about that. So open. It's on desktop, Shiny apps, and we're not going to initialize with Git, so we're going to just say create and this, do it in this current window. Okay, here we go. So we have our new directory. Nothing done with Shinies as of yet, but one of the things I want to do real fast is for us to actually install the Shiny application, Shiny library. Okay, so that's the library. It's not going to do much for me because I already have it, but you all should get some language. All right, so with that being said, I'm going to create a directory. Okay, I'm going to intentionally create a folder so that I can have my first application and my first Shiny application within it. So the actual data set that we're going to display is called Geyser. Okay, and I'm just going to have, this is the way I would want to keep my applications in order. So I'm going to have the name of the app and then underscore app. Okay, but what's needed in case you ever want to put this within production is the file called app.r. It needs to be in that format. Okay, app.r. So what we're going to do is create a histogram. Yay, a histogram that we can actually specify the number of bins. We can actually specify the number of bins. And the data set that we're going to mess with is called, or display, it's called faithful, the faithful data frame. Okay, so it has, I think, 3 columns. There's a lot of columns. 2 columns. Eruptions and waiting. Okay, and so what we're going to do is we're going to grab access to the second column, and that's going to be our data. It's going to be the data that we're going to use. And the reason why we're using this is because that's the traditional default within RStudio, so I said might as well. And so we're going to build this histogram in such a way that we can specify the number of bins. Okay, we can specify the number of bins. The user can at least. So in this particular process, I am not going to do fill in the blank. I'm going to copy and paste it from my document and highlight things that are really important within your Shiny. So let's go ahead and do that. So this is going to be Shiny library. Shiny for only one type probably. And the very first thing, at least before I even copy and paste this, is to specify. I saved it as a document because PDFs are hard to copy and paste into Positron as well as RStudio. So just be aware of that. The second big thing is that when it comes to Shinies, there are 2 things that are needed: is the user input, what the actual user is actually communicating, to the second element, the server. So the user input is how the user is communicating to the server to provide a certain type of visualization or table or any sort of thing that the actual Shiny is built to do. So let's first provide the user input. Okay, so this is going to be the user input. All right, so copy and then paste. So here we go. So this is where it's about library Shiny. Fluid page is a function within library Shiny, and this is just a page of this. This defines the page that we're going to create for our website. There's the title of the actual application. Okay. And then within this, we have the sidebar panel layout. So what this is specifying is that, okay, I have a sidebar panel layout in that I'm going to have a sidebar and I'm going to have a main panel. I'm going to have a sidebar. I'm going to have a main panel. Okay. The sidebar is where my actual slider is going to be. So this is me specifying the number of bins within my histogram. This is me specifying, or at least this is me displaying the actual plot. Okay, this is me displaying the actual plot. Sorry, this within the main panel. So this is the sidebar layout. Sidebar panel is not that, this is the sidebar layout. This is the sidebar, and within the sidebar, I'm actually going to put my slider. Okay. What's important is that the user is going to be prompted the number of bins. They're going to choose between 1 and 50. The default value is stored at 30, and then whatever the user selects is going to be stored into bins. It's going to be stored into bins. Once that user selects, a said number, or once they move it, that information is going to be passed on to the server. So let me show you what that looks like. Boom. Bam. All right, so here is my server. Okay. It has an input, what it's getting from the actual user, which is bins, and has the output, what it's displaying to the user right here, output. So it has one function within it, and the function is called render plot. Okay, it's whatever the plot is being created in this function is being stored into this plot, thus being displayed into the main panel. Slow that down if you need to, but I'll say it again. So the render plot is being stored into this plot. So whatever this creates is going to be rendered into this plot and then displayed here. Okay. So then from there, we have X is faithful, column number 2, and we're doing a sequence from the max of X to from the min of X to max of X, and the length out, the number of bins is based off of whatever the user specified. So this is the actual syntax that's being communicated between the user input and the actual server. So this is the communication. So this is the number of bins plus 1 to specify the number of bins. And then here we're using an old-fashioned histogram. This is base R. It's not even ggplot. And so we're using this functionality for us to actually create this histogram. That's neither here nor there. Okay, so if I were to run this, there's a lot of ways to run this. I'm doing something incorrect intentionally so that you can see what you're supposed to do. But one way to make this run is to actually press the play button, or press the arrow next to the play button and press source echo. This should give me an error, or it shouldn't run. Okay, it didn't run. And the reason is because I have this information in terms of my user input in my server, but I'm not doing anything with it. What I need to do is add the following line of code: server Shiny apps at the bottom of this, specifying that my UI is my specified UI and my server is my specified server. So I change the name, which is not, ideal. So if I said this is server 1, this would then need to be server 1. Okay. Understand that logic. But we're not going to do that. So what we're going to do is go ahead and run this from echo with echo. And then if you look to our left, let me move me. Look to our right, we now have the Shiny application, okay, on port 3055. Okay, so once the user specifies a different number of bins, it then changes, okay, from 10 to 24 to 50 to now showing each and every data point. I think it has more than 50 points. Okay. All right, so that is how we would do that. We can also put it within our main browser. Let's see. We're clicking this button, and then we can also see it there. You can specify the port, but I haven't had to do that until yesterday, and I've been doing this for the last 12 years. So it's not that serious. Another thing I wanted to note is that working with Positron, again, my first time, doing this. Truthfully speaking, a couple of months ago, this play button wasn't there, and I had to Google this myself, okay, to figure out how to properly do this. And the actual code to properly do this without pressing that play button is the following. That's not what I meant, of course, because I did that. Let me try it again. How are we doing on time? 13? Oh, only like 10? Okay, okay, that's fine. Okay. You see now, if I do shiny, : since if I already have shiny ran, as in the library shiny, I don't have to do : I just run app as Geyser app. So this is actually really neat. So, because I'm in my root directory, let me just pause it. I'm in the root directory where if I were to do this, I would just get shiny 331 shiny apps, that 331 shiny apps. But then if I just run shiny run app Geyser, it knows to search for app.r within that directory. Okay, so that's kind of cool. I think there's one more app to create. Okay, and again, this is a little bit of a copy and paste. What did I call this? I call this application, and watch what I do. I'm gonna go here, make sure that my cursor is there, create a new directory. That's not where I want it. It's embarrassing. Okay, right here, new directory. Okay, I'm gonna call this points. I'm gonna generate data, I believe. I'm generating data. Okay, and I'm gonna call this _app. Again, this is not this specification of a name. Points _app is not what's needed. What's needed is the idea of using app.r. That's what's needed. And I'm gonna copy this entire thing because now I'm gonna explain what this is doing. Okay, let's close this. All right. So then here, because you already have access to this, let's go through this. So we're using library shiny, the title page. We have the sidebar layout. So we're going to see this eventually, but there are other layouts that are possible. Okay, there are other layouts that are possible. Okay. Oh yeah, one more shiny to create. So this is gonna be a little bit of a long video. Sorry about that. This little thing here, we're actually going to display two things. We're going to display the histogram, and we're also going to display the actual statistics from the data. Okay, the histogram and then the statistics. And then here we have within our nothing new here side. Did I press the hub button? Why is it doing that? Okay. So we have the sidebar panel and sidebar panel layout. Nothing new there. And the only thing that's new is that I have these two functions, output hist, okay, and output stats, that's now being displayed within the main panel. And then this X here is where my data is being generated. So the only thing that's changing, or at least what the user has control over, is the capacity to specify the number of variables that's going to be created. The number of variables that's going to be created, which is stored as n, and then it's being passed into the server. It generates the data. Then now this is the syntax to then create the histogram and also the summary statistics. And why this is important to do in this particular syntax is so that when I generate X, it's the same information within the histogram as well as the summary statistics. So enough chatting. Let's run this thing. So instead of using Geyser, this is not going to work. I'm going to intentionally show you. This is, say, points. I called it points, didn't I? Yeah, I called it points. Okay. The reason, can anyone take a moment and see why it didn't work? Maybe it worked on your end because you did something. Ideally, if you save, it would fix the issue. So saving it was the issue. So if I run this again, now it works. Okay, here we go. So if you scroll down, you can see if I move the slider, the distribution changes, right? And then we're able to generate the data. This is not in the notes because people are like, oh, how's he getting this, this information? Let's actually be really cool about this. Let's actually add one more thing to make this video longer than it needs to be. But let's do select input. That's another widget. We'll talk more about that next video. I'm gonna call this widget mean number. I shouldn't live code, but whatever. We'll see what happens. Mean, and let's say the default value. Oh, it has to be. Let's not do select input then. Select numeric inputs. That's what I want. Okay, so then it's going to be mean. Finally, mean. Specify the value. The label. And it's going to be state mean. Okay, and then our default value is going to be. I think it needs to be numeric. Let's see if it works. So it's going to be 10, let's say. And so what I can now do is take this mean. I'm going to say mean underscore number, so it's not too crazy. Mean number. I can take that and store as an input here. So this is going to be input $, mean. What did I name it? Just mean? Mean underscore number. Mean underscore number. Okay, so I'm going to stop this and we're going to fingers crossed. How many points? It didn't show up. That's fine. What did I forget to do? It didn't take me too long to troubleshoot that. Okay, so I spelled value wrong. I'm pretty sure y'all did it better than I did. But so if I would change this to like 200, now you can see the mean is now changed. It has the values, so on and so forth. I can just scale this down, and I can see it changes as well. So here you can see the capacity to change to have multiple inputs. Let's do the last one. The last one crazy? The last one's not too crazy. I'm just going to go ahead and just copy and paste this one. We're generating data for a histogram. This one's actually quite nice. So I'm gonna have you just take a moment and copy this line of code for you to install these packages, BSLib. So if you're familiar with, I think it's one of the CS courses, they teach you how to build websites. So there's something called Bootstrap, Bootstrap 4, Bootstrap 5, and BSLib is called Bootstrap Library. So you're able to make things look nicer with Bootstrap. And DT is data table, and data table allows you to create or at least see display nice looking tables within Chinese. So go ahead and run that. I don't know why I did that. I already have it installed. And once we do that, let's go ahead and create a new project called what is this? Let's just call this height underscore app. Okay, so I'm gonna create a new file app.r. And then in terms of the copy and paste game, let's just do that, and then we'll discuss what's happening here. And there's something I didn't get to emphasize. I'm emphasize here. So Control B, exit out of this. All right, so here I'm loading in the libraries that are needed: the Bootstrap library, the ggplot for visualization, our DT data table, and Shiny. This is where you specify the theme. Okay, there's a lot of different things. You can just Google that or chat GPT it to figure out other things that you would want to use. Here we have a certain layout. This is a new layout. Instead of it being fluid page, we're doing page fluid, which is probably a part of BSLib. It has the same idea of the layout sidebar. Okay. And so within that layout sidebar, we have the sidebar. We also have a card that specifies the actual histogram that's changing, as well as the table. what's interesting about this is that I'm like breezing over this part. I'll go slow. This is a conditional panel. So if the user has said, I want the table, which is specified here, checkbox, okay, it's going to then display the table. If it's false, it's not going to display the table. So it's set as default as true. So it's going to display the table. And then if it's, once the user says false, it's going to disappear. Okay. So with that being said, this is the actual stats from the generated data, and this is the histogram, and then this is just the header. Here we're generating X on the data, and what I think it's to emphasize is that this reactive allows you to have an element that is changing based on the user's input in real time. And then this is the histogram that's being created. This is the stats, and this is the table that's being shown. So let's go ahead and just run this. Okay. Source with echo. And it looks fancy. Okay. It looks fancy. So I'm going to open up in the actual browser. Some things to note: you have the histogram, you have your data table, you have your summary. If I change the number of bins, it changes. This is supposed to change. Okay. And then you can hide the table and I have the table, or you can even slide this away. And that's not shown in the code, but that's part of the fluid page. All right. For some reason, the summary is not changing. I'll have to look into that. That is it for this long video. Thank you so much for staying tuned, and we should go from there.